divided, that the lies now wall. They say they're the truth.
Welcome back to the Spin Cycle. Tonight, we're turning our eyes across the Atlantic to the United Kingdom, a nation once celebrated as the cradle of free speech, individual liberty, and Western democracy. But today, under Keir Starmer's Labour government, Britain is facing a perfect storm. An aggressive crackdown on free speech with thousands arrested for online posts, an unrelenting immigration crisis with tens of thousands crossing the English Channel in small boats every year, horrifying scandals involving migrant grooming and rape gangs that authorities long ignored or downplayed, and excessive taxation pushing the tax burden to post-war highs as working families are squeezed harder than ever. From think before you post warnings and speech police scouring social media, to record asylum claims and grooming gang convictions that expose systemic failures, to budgets that freeze thresholds and raise billions in new taxes, Britain feels like it's sliding toward a more authoritarian, high-tax, open-border model. Critics say this isn't just policy. It's a fundamental transformation that's leaving many native Brits feeling like strangers in their own country. Is this the future for the UK, or can it be reversed? To break it all down with insight from someone who's advised at the highest levels, we're joined by a former advisor to UK British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, a political commentator who has appeared on Fox News, Newsmax, and GB News, and a vocal voice on these exact issues and isn't afraid to call it like he sees it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Thomas Corbett Dillon. All right, Thomas, thank you for being here, brother. Thanks for taking the time. I'm sure you're busy as hell right now with everything going on.
No, happy to be here always.
So for the audience members that may not know who you were a advisor under Boris Johnson in the UK. Give us a little bit about your background, kind of how you got to where you are, and how you became an American, because you're more American than British, if you ask me.
That's true. Well, I try to be. Yeah, so my background's journalism, so I was at Sky News for a long time before I went to do some work with Boris. And then left the UK during COVID because it was just hell, and came to the land of the free, chased freedom, and didn't find too much of it in DC, actually, so I had to go down to Florida. But slowly they loosened up the COVID. I mean, nowhere was as bad as England. You were only allowed to leave the house once a day, or they'd arrest you.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was insane.
Wow.
So yeah, I was very, very grateful to be over here, that's for sure.
And it's interesting because you stepped away from your position entirely, or were you just working remotely at that point?
No, I was working for my own company.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Because I actually had there was a question that came from my cousin, and obviously you were inside like the inner workings of that administration, so I know that you can't really speak to this specifically, but the general mindset behind it. They asked, during COVID, the government messaging to the public was really strong, often quite fear-based to drive compliance, yet we later learned there were gatherings happening inside Number 10. How would you explain to people to understand that disconnect? Do people inside the government genuinely view the risk differently to how it was communicated, or was the message deliberately amplified to influence public behavior?
Well, for most of the beginning of COVID, I was actually in Asia. I was in China when it also really went crazy. So I wasn't there too much for to know the inside of those sorts of things. But what I know is that everyone was sort of treating it in the same way. Well, anyone sort of like around our age was sort of treating it the same way. But like, it was like kind of a threat, but we knew it was like not really a threat for us. And one of the things that I was really annoyed about is that they knew that, but they weren't willing to say that. And everyone knew that. We were going to parties. Everyone was having parties. Like when I came back to London, it was so much fun. There were all these like lockdown parties. It was great. It was like house party season. It was like being back at university. I've never been to so many house parties. But and then these people are going out on the TV and saying, stay home and all of this, which is terrible, because I think everyone now realizes that we like sabotage an entire generation to save like what, a bunch of like 90-year-olds. Like literally, what was the point? It was ridiculous. Like, sorry to those people, you know, if my grandmother was 92 and then she got COVID and died, I'd be very upset. But she's going to be 93 and die, you know, and what? So we have to shut down the country. So I was very, very against actually doing anything for COVID. I didn't really believe in that it was as big as they made it out to be. So
I mean, I think ultimately at the end of the day, with any new novel virus, because obviously this is the first time in our lifetime, the majority of the people lifetime here on the planet, this is the first time we've ever experienced something. You know, you go back to the Spanish flu. You know, when it came here, there's a town an hour south of me that you can drive by a drive by a sign that is a dedicated memorial to a mass grave of people that died from the flu. So the rationale behind it, to say that, oh, well, we're doing this so that we can save our elderly population and because nobody wants to see death, I get that. But instead of trying to change the trajectory right away, we should have taken a moment to pause and study the history. There was an inevitability that people were going to die. Do I think completely shutting it down was the way to go? Definitely not. I think we should have treated it like any other flu season and said, hey, take the precautions. Masks are available, you know. But I did see a lot of hypocrisy here in the States too. You know, Gavin Newsom with his what the hell's the restaurant? The French Quarter, I believe, something like that.
French
He got
Laundry.
French Laundry, that's what it is. He got busted for having massive get-togethers there, and the French Quarter's in New Orleans. I'm a dumbass.
You're close.
Yeah, it was close. The French Laundry scandal. Like, we saw that, and that pissed us off to no fucking end because they were telling us, oh, you know, November rolls around. Don't have your family over for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right?
Don't
Yeah,
celebrate
I remember
Christmas
that.
with your family. Like, you
Yeah.
have kids that are in their formative years, and I still think we haven't seen the long-term effects of that, you know, say 2-year period. So what exactly did you do for Boris Johnson?
So I was on I did the campaign. So my company, we produced social media content for him. So a lot of the famous videos that were put out there, we were the guys, you know, sort of running around following him with a camera, and then a lot of the targeting. It was an interesting era before. You can't do anything like it anymore. Facebook have really stopped it in the UK and in Europe. But we did a lot of micro targeting. It was really interesting. It was really cool. It was a new way of doing things. You know, for example, we were delivering different messages to different people inside the same household. You know, so we were saying, you know, that there was one of his policies was more police on the streets. So we would then produce an ad, target that to a candidate. So we would then work with the candidate that was running in the area. Because of course in England, you have to remember, no one votes for the Boris. They vote for their local. It's almost as if like you vote for your representative and then the speaker is in charge of everyone, right? So you vote for your local MP and then Boris is the head of that group. So yeah, we would then do that. So yeah, we would create a advert about the police, a commercial to then target to the dad of the house. And then we knew that women cared more about more nurses. So then she would get an ad about nursing. This actually is like kind of normal now. When we were doing it, it was like groundbreaking stuff, you know? So it was
Right.
cool. It was fun. It was very, very different. But now it's kind of, in America, yeah, you guys do it all the time. But in England, that had never been done before.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things about the UK that are very outdated and could use an update. There's a lot of things about the US that are outdated and need a chainsaw taken to them. Um, it's a mess. Arguably, the UK has it worse right now, though. So generally, the first segment that we like to do here is just a quick rapid fire round. They're fun, lighthearted questions. It's You get to show your personality in some of these. So we'll start here. You're a proud Brit now living in the land of the free in America. What is one very British thing you still do that people look at you like you're crazy?
I think I say thank you too much, which always confuses people. Like, in the grocery store or whatever, like if they're like bagging the groceries, every time they hand me a bag, I'll say thank you. And then that, because in England, if someone says thank you, you kind of don't really say anything. Whereas in America, you say, you're welcome, or they go, uh-huh. And like, it has to be a response. So then I'm saying it like 10 times and the guy's like, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. So I think that's probably it, British thing. I'm trying to work on that one. I'm trying to work on being able to do like an American accent, because as much as it's fun being a Brit here, it gets a little tired when I'm like hungover and going to like the grocery store and then the lady's like, oh my God, are you from England? And I'm like, oh shit. So
You couldn't tell?
I'm trying to figure out how to do like a fake American accent, but I'm not very good at it just yet. So I'm working on it.
No, that's when you look back at them and you go, come here. You whisper in their ear and you go, I'm an actor and I'm prepping for a role. Don't
That's
tell
a good one.
anybody.
The drive-through is the one that always gets me, because they can never understand me. And I hate going. I'm like literally afraid of going to drive-throughs. It's the worst. So yeah.
Oh Lord. All right. Milk or honey in your tea?
Neither. I do black tea.
All right. All right. True Brit. All right. US portion sizes or British weather? Which one's worse?
British weather. I like American food. You get lunch for the next day. It's amazing. It's not a thing in England. You know, you can't ask. They don't have, like, I've seen Americans be like, can I get like a doggy bag or like a to-go bag or whatever? And the British restaurant are like, what? Like, it's not a thing. No one does that. So yeah, I love American restaurants. They're great.
All right. If you could have a pint with any British historical figure, like, you know, Churchill, Shakespeare, Margaret Thatcher, who would it be and why?
King Edward VIII.
Okay. Why?
Because I want to know what the hell happened. I don't believe that he was in love with this stupid Wallace Simpson woman or whatever. I'm like, there's like, he has to have been forced to step down. There was no reason. I think that was a real turning point in our history, that you know, a king like resigns. You can't resign. You're appointed, you're anointed by God. Like, how can you resign? Like, there had to be something on him. The theory is that he was gay. And then the archbishop was like, we're gonna, because it was still illegal then, right? They were like, we're gonna expose you, you have to step down, and that's what he did. And then they got the king that they wanted. But yeah, no, I think that would be a really interesting one to be like, because everyone says, oh, because he was in love with this Wallace Simpson and like, you know, all of this. No, I think it was all rubbish. I don't believe it.
It probably is. The more I'm like, when you look at a modern, even just a modern history book in schools now, the content that they're being taught is a completely different, like, it's two very different versions of history that are being taught in these classrooms now compared to even when I was in school. Like, it's ridiculous. So you do have to wonder how much of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, last rapid fire one. If you could force Keir Starmer to do one very un-Labor thing, and it was guaranteed to happen, what would it be?
Resign.
That's
like like he needs to do. It's like the only thing he needs to do, basically.
that's, oh my God, that was the perfect response to that.
I mean, I'm not convinced that anything that comes after him will be any better, but he is a disaster. So yeah,
he's a nightmare, man, and he doesn't handle the public stress well at all. So
yeah,
on that,
there's nothing worse than people who can't speak. I'm just like, just speak. Like, what's wrong with you? Why is your voice like stupid? It's so embarrassing. We have him, and then I don't know if you've seen our Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. She sounds like, do you remember that Elizabeth Holmes? Was it her, the woman who like scammed the scam like pharmaceutical lady? She's in jail, the blonde lady. She she wanted to be like Steve Jobs. She wore like a black turtleneck. She put on this really deep voice. Our Chancellor is a woman who puts on a deep voice. It's so embarrassing. It's like, they are literally idiots. It is the worst.
Have you checked for an Adam's apple?
Well, you would, I mean, listen to her voice and you will literally know what I'm talking about. You'll be like, whoa. But it's weird. It's like, she puts it on because she thinks that like, oh, it makes her sound more like intelligent, or like she can be with the men or whatever. It's like, I hate them. I hate all of them.
Well, on that note, I guess we can move into Keir Starmer's Labour government. There are reports that show over 12,000 people arrested in a single year for online posts, even if they're cartoons, retweets, just the most ridiculous stuff. As someone that's been part of the 10 Downing Street Club, how the hell did it get? How the hell did we get to this point? Because the UK used to be like this prior to America, even the standard for free speech, and they were the standard for free speech in Europe for the longest time. So how did we get from that to locking people up over a meme?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I really don't know the answer to that because everyone's wondering the same thing. Like, how did this happen? I think how it happened is that you guys don't realize how important it is that you have that little bit of paper, that you have it written on paper, in a document, on display in whatever the archive that says you have the right to freedom of speech. Like, I think the difference is that they keep chipping away at this because there isn't, you can't if it's not written down, we don't have a constitution. It's an unwritten constitution, as they love to tell us. It's not written down, therefore they can chip away at it. And then they can say, well, yes, we do believe in free speech, but not hate speech. And then not incitement to this, and not and then what is hate speech? Hate speech becomes whatever they don't like, whereas you guys, it literally says you have the right to free speech. What is it? It shall not be infringed upon or something, and that is like, there is no, you can't then say, oh, but they weren't thinking about hate speech. So I think that is
No.
the real problem that we have, is that we have an unwritten constitution. There's been a push with some of the new right-wing parties to, do like a Bill of Rights or something, to produce something like that.
Yes.
But it is a big problem we don't have that.
Well, and I'm not sure how well that would go over given the amount of leftist politicians just embedded in your parliament altogether. I mean, you would have to have sweeping change over there to be able to get something like that passed, without a doubt. So Elon Musk and a bunch of other people have just they've started playing the leftist card and saying it's outright fascism. What cultural or even ideological changes inside Whitehall and the police do you think enabled the prioritization of online hate or digital crimes versus street crime?
It depends on how far you want to go back on that. I mean, I think a lot of people are um, putting a lot of these, particularly on your question about the police, I think a lot of that can be stemmed back to when they first started allowing lady policemen, which was kind of a bit of an outrage at the time, and I think still is causing a lot of problems because they are much more interested in pursuing those sorts of crimes, the thought crimes, the hate crimes, than they are actually engaging in any of those sorts of things. So I think you can chase it back to that. If you look at some of the worst police forces in the UK that are bad at this, they always seem to have a lot of female leadership. It seems to be their priority is going after these thought crimes. If you've ever seen or if you've read Orwell, you will know that he says that women are always the ones that push the most sort of aggressive in following the rules and sort of telling on those who break the rules. And I think that has been a big problem. If you saw some of the recent videos where the police turn up on someone's doorstep, it's always some lady police officers. They love a hate crime. So that is one of the big problems that we have with the police force. But that is not something that's going to be easily solved anytime soon. But that is certainly a big issue.
The interesting thing that I see about those videos, when it is a bunch of lady police officers showing up to somebody's door to arrest them, they always have one very large man with them.
Well, oftentimes they don't anymore, which is even more ridiculous. You see, they go and try and arrest like a 6'5" guy because, female empowerment and we're equal and all that. And then I literally watched a video the other day of like these 3 lady policemen that are like 4 foot tall, trying to arrest this guy, and he's just like batting them away. And remember, they don't have guns. It's different to your American policeman. I mean, the American lady policemen are just going to shoot you, which we see happen time and time again. But with the British ones, they don't have guns, so it's literally a joke. So we've really got to figure something out about that.
Well, especially considering the issues that you have in the streets daily there, just from the massive amounts of immigration. You know, I do want to tackle that scandal specifically here in a little bit, but as far as immigration goes, the crossings there reached over 40,000 in 2025. It was like a 13% increase from 2024, despite the fact that the Home Office is saying they've stopped 40,000 crossing attempts in I think it was the last 3 or 4 years. So net migration is still through the roof. And what from inside the government, because obviously you understand it better than either of us do, what policy failures do you think turned the English Channel into this open border express lane?
I think it was fear. I think it was fear of you know action. It's like they're so petrified of just doing what needs to be done. I mean, that is such a easily solved issue. And sorry to those people, there has to be a boat of men, by the way, they're all men, that comes over that's going to get sunk. The Royal Navy are going to sink your boat. You are going to die. I'm sorry. It sucks for you, but you tried to break into a country. And guess what? That'll be the last boat that tries to cross. But they are so afraid of doing that because they'll get a week of headlines. Oh my God, the British Navy sunk a ship of this. Like, yes, that is what you have to do. You have to secure the borders. It is the most embarrassing thing that it's an island and we're sitting back and saying, well, we can't defend it. Like, it's just pathetic. And it really makes you question, like, how on earth is this the country that produced the largest empire the world has ever seen? They've ruled the world. And now we're too afraid to kill a bunch of like third world degenerates that are trying to break into our country. Like, it is really upsetting. And the people just need to stand up and say, sorry, it's going to suck. You're going to see bodies of dead people in the water, but we have to secure the borders. And they're too afraid to do what needs to be done.
I got a lot of shit when I said during the Biden administration that, when Border Patrol was putting up the razor wire and they were being told you have to take it down. My response to that was, okay, take the razor wire down, put a sniper every fucking 100 yards.
Yeah.
And anything that moves, kill it. I mean, that's where we're at. You have to, sometimes you have to take drastic measures. It's interesting. You said, we're an island and we can't defend it. Well, your military complex has been completely wiped out. There's a large, and I say even though you're more of an American, but the British Royal Fleet, there's a large majority of it that is inoperable. Like, there's problems with ships, or and then it takes 14 days to get from Britain to the Middle East to assist its ally. Like, not to mention your enlistment numbers, they're just horrid. There's a reason they can't defend it. They haven't put their money in the right place because they've always had the big brother to fucking foot the bill and defend them anyway. So with all of this migration, are there other deterrent measures that they could use that they aren't instituting, like offshore processing, rapid returns? What options do they have before they have to get to that extreme?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, it could be done overnight. It's the Australia system. Australia are very smart. They had a similar problem, boats coming over from Indonesia and places like this. They have an island off the coast that is now their processing center. If you, make it to the shore, great, good for you. You're going back to that processing center. You will never step foot on Australian soil. And that is how you do it. We have islands all over the place. I say, take one of the islands up in Scotland. There's one that, this is a common thread. You can find this on Twitter, on X. People talk about this all the time. There's a base up in Scotland that's not really used anymore that can easily house thousands of migrants. Yeah, fine. You might make it across the channel. You enter British waters and you'll be rescued by the lifeguards or whatever, but you'll never step foot on British soil. You'll be taken up to an island in Scotland and you'll be held there until we process your claim or whatever. I just I don't even believe in this whole claim to, like, you have a claim that you need to come and live in my country. Like, what is that about? What do you mean? Like, what is this claim? Sorry, your country sucks. Why don't you go back to it and make it better? Don't flee. There's nothing worse than you saying, I would understand if it was women and children on these boats and it was war-torn countries and they're fleeing this. It's these fighting age men. What an embarrassment to your country you are that you flee to come to my country instead of like making your own country better. So I don't really have time. But yes, no, it is an easily solved solution. It's the Australian method. They did that. And also the second thing is that you just take away all their benefits. The amount of money we spent this year on benefits to illegal migrants, free housing, free food, hotels, all this stuff. We could have bought 2 more aircraft carriers. And that would have, solved our situation that we have Cyprus base cannot not be defended right now because none of our ships are working. We'd rather spend it on freebies to these low IQ foreigners that bring nothing to the country. It really is ridiculous.
And not to mention, we're seeing a similar problem here with housing, but we have the space. We could very easily build more housing and tackle this if the right red tape and stuff was removed. The UK does not have that ability. So there's rapid demographic changes happening, especially in London. Places, central London, Birmingham, all through the London boroughs. That illegal immigration, I think a lot of people, specifically here, don't understand how serious the ramifications are. Can you give us kind of the idea of this immigration, how it affects housing, social services, social cohesion? I mean, we have such a massive country that we don't notice it. But from looking at a smaller country like the UK, the effects are obvious, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Although I would actually say, have you been to Walmart recently? The changes are happening, and it's happening quicker than you realize. You guys are at where we were like 5 years ago. Yes, this is a big country, but it's changing. That Biden wave really changed things here. Even I'm out in rural Virginia, and we're noticing it here. And it's like happening everywhere, which is the other question. It's like, why is this happening in every country? But yeah, in England, it is a disaster. There is no houses anymore. The houses, even now, what we're seeing actually is a lot of houses in London, the prices are collapsing. No one wants to live in these places anymore. London housing market is actually going down. There's a lot of houses on the market that are now for sale less than they were bought like 5-10 years ago. And you mentioned a few different places. I would argue it's actually every city center across England now is being drastically changed and driving more people, English people, out into countryside and other places like that. But don't think that it's not happening here. I see it happening here too, and it's happening quicker than you realize.
And and some of that may just be the fact that I'm sheltered. I live in a small town in Western Pennsylvania. I'm sure if I go to Pittsburgh or Cleveland, just a little northwest of me in Ohio, I'm sure I would be more likely to see it. But at the same time, when I go to those areas, there's like me seeing a high concentration of Black people is like, whoa, culture shock, because the town I grew up in, whiter than shit. I think we had a total of two Black kids in our school. I don't remember us having any Latinos, Asians, but no, one Asian.
It's a totally different issue here because, if a bunch of Black people move to your town, yeah, fine, it's not the same as it used to be, but they're all speaking English. They tend to be Christian. Same with the Latinos. I mean, if anything, they're kind of great because they're Catholics. We love the Catholics. They speak Spanish, but they tend to, hopefully they're going to get better at English and stuff. But what's happening in England is just an Islamic takeover where they're wearing like the things they look like this, and they literally don't even attempt to speak English. They're praying. This awful like call to prayer rings out 5 times a day. It is like a different country. So yeah, I know what you're saying. It is happening in the US, but I don't think it's as drastic You even need to look at like the Somali community in, what is it, Minnesota or wherever they are. They still
Yeah,
kind of tend to speak English. They tend to like embrace like American things. But in England, it is like there's literally like two countries in one island. It's kind of crazy.
it's from what I've been hearing from family over there is my cousin's daughter is out of her entire class in school. Um, she's one of 6 English students. The rest are all migrants.
Wow, she's lucky. 6? That's groundbreaking. That's got to be one of the biggest white population schools in the country for her.
Yeah. Well, and they don't live too far outside of London. They're not anywhere near the city center, but like it's like you said, it's pushing everybody back out towards the countryside. And then compounding that, outside of just the immigration, you have the financial woes happening in the UK right now that I think are also driving people outside of the city centers. Your favorite woman, Rachel Reeves, just recently announced her budget included $26 billion in tax increases. That pushed the UK's tax burden to a post-war high of around 38% of GDP.
Jeez.
So,
Cool.
yeah, it's absolutely horrid. So this tax and spend approach, similar to what we have here under Biden and every other Democrat regime, it's exacerbating the problems to an absolutely ridiculous degree. There's your regular taxes that are insanely high. I believe it's the highest tax nation in Europe. I could be wrong. But to compound that, you have these ridiculous policies like the ULEZ charge, these de facto taxes, right? These ultra low emission zones that are a guaranteed fee of like $12.50 a day if your car's non-compliant. And that's not if you drive it or anything. That is just to park it in your fucking parking lot. And then if you're going into the city centers, they just raise the congestion charge to, I think it's like 18 pounds. So you're spending 12 and a half pounds a day to have your car. And then if you have to travel into central London, you're getting hit with another $18. And on top of that, you say you were one of these people that decided, hey, I'm going to go out and buy an EV. And you're driving into central London every day. Well, they just removed the exemption. So now, even if you have an EV and you're listening to the government and doing everything daddy says, now you're still stuck with an $18 a day charge. I mean, how can the government look at this and say, it's fine, you guys can absorb it? It's almost 10%. I did the math last night. If the average salary in the UK, I believe it's like 55,000 a year.
Dollars or pounds?
Pounds.
That would be high. I'd say it's more in the 30 range.
So taking it at the high range,
Yeah.
just to have a vehicle
Mm-hmm.
and not drive in central London would cost you 10% of your entire year's salary.
Mm-hmm.
How can the government look at that and say, this is fine? I mean, is it a deliberate strategy to try to nudge behavior? Or is it just a ridiculous way to line the government's coffers?
Well, it's kind of like, the empire's dying days is that they literally don't have any option but to increase taxes because there's no money from anywhere else. We have no innovation. There's no big corporations. We don't have an Apple. We don't have a Tesla. We don't have any of that, So yeah, but and your figures are great, but you're also forgetting the road tax is ridiculously high. Insuring a car in England is practically impossible these days. The prices are insane. You're looking at £3,000 to £4,000 a year just for insurance that you legally have to have. And then on top of that, it's all of these. The speed limit now is 20 miles an hour and there's cameras everywhere. You get tickets all the time. They do these average speed checks. So you enter the highway, they take a picture of you. When you leave the highway, they take a picture of you. If you weren't doing the whole speed limit on your entire trip, you just get a fine in the mail. It is just ridiculous. And then also on top of that, I was just doing a segment on Fox the other day about gas prices in America, and we looked up the most expensive gas in America is in a gas station in Beverly Hills, as you would expect, crazy expensive. Guess what? That is still cheaper than the average price of gas in the UK. The petrol in the UK is completely out of control. It is either just a war on motorists, or they're just taxing the last, like squeezing the last little pennies out of these people before they finally give up their cars, and then they have to figure out another way to tax them. But yeah, the taxing in the UK is beyond ridiculous. No one in England
Mhm.
has any money. None of the salaries are anywhere near to anything in the US. And the cost of living and the cost of electricity and heating and all of these things is just mind blowing when you look at it in comparison to the United States. And on the top of that, we have great reserves of our own oil that we refuse to use, in favor of this fake green agenda, which, as you said, is completely fake because they took away the electric car allowance. Electric cars are no longer allowed to be exempt from that. But also, don't think that this isn't going to happen. We saw that New York City will literally have the infrastructure is in place. The governor announced that she was doing congestion charging on Manhattan. All the cameras are in place. You can see them in New York City at every bridge, tunnel, entrance to Manhattan. They are there. It was such a bad backlash when she announced it that she dropped it because she was going to lose the election over it. But don't worry. Those will be switched on. That button is waiting to be pressed, and you will see the exact same thing in New York, and it will be the same. And then it'll be having your car there per day. And if you look at New York, if you were a bureaucrat, legal, eager to get money, look at New York City, all the cars that are sitting in those streets that never get driven. You've got great public transport there. That is a massive raid that is going to happen on those people. I think in the next 10 years, you'll see certainly a personal car. You'll see a carless Manhattan, that's for sure.
Well, and you have you hit something there when you said war on motorists, because this just randomly popped up on my feed earlier, and I forgot to mention it, so I'm glad I still had the tab open. Sadiq Khan considers new London SUV charges for 2026. So they are saying that SUVs are 77% more likely to kill a child in a collision. They give you all of these ridiculous figures, and then they tell you, oh, here it is. The war on motorists isn't without its critics. He's not anti-car, but anti-death, typical whatever. So they're looking at like another specific daily levy to the ULEZ charge. So if you own a vehicle, you drive in central London, and your vehicle happens to be an SUV, you're now getting taxed 3 fucking times.
Oh yeah, that'll be the way. I actually have an old Range Rover in England. Diesel, old girl. She breaks every rule you could possibly imagine. And now I guess that's one more that she'll break. So I guess we'll be paying that on top of all the other stuff that they make you pay for. But I hate this. It's always, oh, but it kills the children. How many children have been killed? The speed limit is 20 miles an hour in England now, in London now. And they did that to save the children as well. But in reality, it was because they did it and didn't tell anyone, and then everyone gets tickets. So like, it's just literally another way to tax you. It's a hidden tax.
Well, and they're starting to do, like, I think car free zones. So Oxford Street, I believe, is going to be one of them, or is one of them already. And obviously they've already started doing it in other places in the city. So I don't understand the logic. None of this improves the quality of life for anyone. It makes it harder to live. And one of the questions that was sent, because they sent me a bunch, was, why shouldn't we mine oil from the North Sea instead of importing it? Do you think it's inevitable to happen, especially with the war in Iran? If this thing stays going for any extended period of time, why not mine your own oil? Why continue to buy oil from Russia and Iran?
I mean, they would. I actually don't think they could even bring themselves to do it. They are so mind washed by this eco bullshit that they think the world is going to end. And like England, for some reason, England is like the savior of the world. Like if England can reduce its emissions, then that makes them the good guys. Meanwhile, China's like building a new coal plant every day, like no one cares. So I don't even know if they would actually. I think they would probably see England burn before they would ever start mining oil again. The current Labour government, because they're just so fixated on this. It could actually turn around the fortunes of the UK, and I hope that we do get a new right-wing government in, and they massively do that, because the money generated from that could do massive tax breaks. It could invest in the country. It could, do all the things that the country needs, just from doing that in a sort of sovereign, in the same way that the Norwegians do it, in a sovereign wealth fund. It's worth a fortune. It's one of the biggest reserves in the world, and we can do it in a nice, clean way. But they would rather just build these like wind turbines everywhere that,
Well,
if anything,
not just that, but
are
think
literally
about
worse for
the
the environment.
well, and just think about it. I mean, if you guys could re-strengthen ties with the U.S., because let's be honest, they're very damaged. If you guys could re-strengthen ties with the U.S., the amount of investment that would come from American companies that would want to mine in the North Sea, and I mean, it would be great for both of our countries. So I'm not sure why those discussions haven't happened. I mean, obviously Iran and there's a bunch of other things on the plate, but I'm not sure why we haven't heard any movement from the Trump administration, especially considering what's happening in Venezuela, of saying, hey, you got to push them to mine the North Sea. Maybe then you could meet your GDP target for NATO. Like,
Yeah. I think that the advisors probably tell them that it's a no-go. Like they're never going to do it. It's literally ridiculous.
that's signing your own death warrant and
They
initialing
signed
the
it years
bottom
ago.
box in every corner.
England is already dead. It is so bad. It's we just have to rebirth the nation. There's no saving the current nation. It's got to be reborn. It's so bad.
So a lot of people feel that way about the United States too. I mean, there's a very large portion of the Republican side that says, you know what, we need to just burn it all down, let it, wipe everybody out of Congress, start over. Like, tell them, nope, you're not running for re-election, you're fired, start fresh. Do you think we're there? Do you think we're at that point here in the States, or do you think this can still be saved?
I think the US has a little bit more time. You guys aren't under the same economic pressure that the UK is. The people are not really struggling here yet. Although I just drove past a gas station today and I see these numbers clocking up. Like this could really hurt the country. I don't think I've seen. I think it was like $4 or something. I don't think I've seen $4 gas here for a long time. So yeah, that could start affecting people. But when you talk about these congressmen, yeah, I do think that some of these guys are just complete idiots. And like, I really don't know how they win their seats. I don't know how Lindsey Graham wins. What is he, South Carolina, when he literally is out there saying he cares more about Israel than South Carolina? Like, I don't understand how he still wins. We'll see if he wins again. I don't know if he's up in this election, but yeah, I don't know how those sorts of people win. But also the old like geriatric people, like why is Nancy Pelosi, isn't she running again, I believe, or is she handed it over to someone, or like Maxine Waters and things, like all of these like 100-year-old politicians, you've got to get them out. They've got to go.
Well, there was, even on the Republican side, it's bad because there was the one Republican representative from Texas that was missing for like 3 weeks, and they found her living in a home for people with dementia.
Yep.
Like, nobody bothered to say, hey, where is she?
A lot of them are dying. Well, sorry to them, but they're dying. And the new, we're at that turning point. If it happens with JD at the next election, you're going to have the first millennial president. And then you see it happening in Congress. There's new like millennial guys coming in and taking over and doing that. So I think we're on that way out. It's interesting because a lot of them, they all seem to be like 80 and 90. And then they're like 40. There's not really like that many in between. So I think you'll see that sort of generation dying out, and we get the new guys in. But I don't want them to be in there until they're 90 again. But we'll see.
We can only hope. Ryan, before we move on to the American side of the conversation,
thank God
you have notes?
No, largely I have no idea who most of the people you guys are talking about are. They sound like they suck.
I wish I didn't know who they were. That's the dream.
No, I mean, as just far as what we were just talking about with the Republicans and the old heads in there, it's for me, it's not even as much their age as much as it's their tenure. I don't think they should be career politicians because I think they're so disassociated by the time they hit 80 that they have no idea. Like they've lived a life since they had to exist in the real world. That's the problem.
Yep. Oh, you know what? I have something that I thought of. Can you explain for for our audience the death tax in the UK?
Yeah. Is there not? You don't have inheritance tax in America?
There is an inheritance tax
It's just
in
not
the
as high
States.
as the UK, yeah, basically. But yeah, they just lowered it to, I think like anything over 2 million or something, or maybe I think it was first 1 million, then up to 2 million. But if you look at prices of property in the UK, 2 million is like an average property. And who it's really going to affect is the farmers, because they have farms that are, on paper, the land is worth 20 million or something ridiculous. But who is going to buy that? No one is buying a 20 million pound farm in rural England because of the work it takes. The only people that want to do that are the family that have lived there for generations. But what they're going to have now is a death tax that they are not able to pay without selling that property that they can't sell for the value that it's worth. So they're going to sell it for, 2 million so they can pay the $1 million tax or £1 million tax they have to pay. It's just another way of destroying the heritage in England and removing the generations and generations of people that have lived in, the same big, whether they're great houses or farms or any of those sorts of things. It's just destroying the family in the UK.
And do you think that's intentional? Because look, I know you talked a lot about demographic changes. You've been very outspoken that I think the term you used was indigenous people in the UK. The fact that they've imported all these migrants, do you think these tax policies, do you think they're a deliberate attempt to run these people out so that a large investor could come in, buy that farm and build housing?
It's not so much that. It's more that large conglomerates want to have a monopoly on the food production in the UK. They want to get rid of all the local farms so that like one producer makes all of the pork and one does the chicken, and it's that final sort of late stage capitalism as they push towards that, because currently the UK has a much more spread out farming heritage. We've got some great farmers that produce like really clean, nice food, versus some of the American stuff that you're getting that is just full of chemicals and all of this sort of stuff. So that's why the farmers are under attack. Um, and then yeah, the families as well who have like large houses are also under attack, because yeah, they just want to remove. They want to get rid of the idea that there are an indigenous population in England. They want it to just be like a no man's land, as I said. So it is definitely intentional. Yeah.
Multiculturalism. It's great,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, going
So,
great.
so now moving into the American side of things, the UK at least has some form of voter ID, right? Why is it so hard for Americans to accept the idea of voter ID?
Americans, I think every American agrees in the country. I think everyone you ask on the street is very happy to provide their ID. I think it's the political parties that are the ones that are refusing to do it. Every single person in this country knows if you want to go to a liquor store, you need an ID. If you want to go, I mean, you have to carry an ID if you're driving a car. Like everyone has an ID. This idea that people don't have IDs. I actually saw a really good clip where this guy went around and was asking like black people if they have an ID, and every single one of them was like, obviously I have an ID. What do you mean? Like, but the Democrats say, oh, but low income black people, they don't have IDs, so it's a racist policy. It's racist that they say that black people don't have IDs. Everyone in this country has an ID, and the only people that are against it are the are the politicians that can only win by cheating. So that's the only way.
Well, did you see the Gavin Newsom moment where he's like, I'm an 80 IQ guy. I'm just like you, to a room full of black people. He's like, he literally looked.
He
at
said,
the
"I'm
room.
like you. I can't read."
Yes, I'm an idiot, just like you. It's like, dude, do you not hear how that sounds?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't really understand the new Democrat strategy over there, like alienate the people, but that's okay. I don't mind if they keep, I say encourage. I say, Gavin, that was a great line. Keep that going. Run with that. Put that out everywhere. I always like to encourage the Democrats when they're doing bad things, to encourage them to do that. Like Jasmine Crockett. I wanted to run for president. I think, Jasmine, you're great. If you're watching, is everyone supporting you? Run for president.
Oh, that would be the closest election of our life. We would have such a fight. She needs to do it.
Yeah, we got to encourage her.
One way to unite Black America: put the ghettoest bitch on the planet running for president. You will quickly understand that your version of blackness is not what the Black community believes it to be.
She's awful.
So with the Save America Act, I think the requirement for registration is what's pushing people, and that's the idea of like you have to have a passport, you have to have a birth certificate, names have to match. Obviously, the easiest pushback on it is, well, do you have a fucking job? Did you have to give them your social security card and your 2 forms of ID? Did your birth certificate? Like you had to get that to get a real ID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have you ever been on a plane? Like, you literally need that. What's the deadline? Like, isn't it already passed? You need a real ID to go on a plane now?
I'll tell you what, though. There's a lot of people around me who have never been on a plane. There's a lot of people around me who have never left the state.
But do they have IDs?
Oh, they have driver's licenses, but
right, yeah.
I don't believe the driver's license is an accepted form of ID under the SAVE Act. I don't think.
So no, so you need an ID and you need a document that proves your citizenship.
So birth certificate. You're saying one of each.
Passport or birth certificate, yeah, is right now what they're saying. Because a social security card, they can give those to non-citizens, people that are here on visas or whatever else.
Right.
But that seems to be the general pushback. Obviously, as a commentator, you have a lot of reach regardless. Like, what do you say to those people that are worried about, genuinely worried about women that have been married that, maybe their birth certificate doesn't match, or they don't have a passport. And then the passport system is bogged up, where a buddy of mine, it took him 9 months to get his after he did everything. Plus, you're causing them to incur an additional costs, which Ryan brought up a good point. Was I don't even know if that's constitutionally legal to attach a cost to being able to vote. What, like, if you had to try to convince the independents that were just on the fence and just kind of said, just make us present a driver's license, how do you quell their fears that it's going to disenfranchise voters?
Well, I would just say to them, like, I'm sorry, you'll have like a week of inconvenience. Yeah, you've got to get a print of your birth certificate. You've got to sit in the DMV for a couple of hours. It's going to be an inconvenience. It's going to suck. We all had to do it. I had to do it. Everyone had to do it. It sucks, but the future of the country is at stake here. Like, I'm sorry you have to do that, but in 4 years' time and 8 years' time, you're going to be grateful that you did do that when we have secure elections. I think that people that are using that as an excuse, I think, I appreciate it's really annoying. It's a super inconvenience. I had to do it to get a real ID. I'm not even a citizen in this country. You want to talk about complicated bureaucracy? Yeah, how about that? It's going to.
So you're still here on a visa then?
I'm a green card.
Oh, you're a green card.
I have a green card. So I basically can do everything, but I can't vote. Right. And I've got like 2 years until I can become a citizen, which will be great. And then I'll be truly free. But up until that, I'm just a green card right now.
So and on that note, you talk about bureaucracy. Immigration in the United States obviously was a massive problem under Joe Biden. It is obviously still the system itself is obviously still broken. It's very expensive. It's a very long process. When you're immigrating, how many times a month did you have to meet with your lawyer?
Me?
Yeah, when you were immigrating here.
Pretty often through the process, although nothing happens for a while, so you don't really need to meet with them because like things happen and then you deal with it and then you wait another like 6 months and then something else happens. So it's not like a fast-paced process. It's a slow, long, annoying process.
Right.
But I'm on a great visa or on a green card now, but I was on a great visa, so I was lucky to be on a good one. It's a lot harder for people coming on like H-1Bs or whatever, J-1s or whatever they're on, so but yeah, it's just a slow process.
And so you brought up H-1Bs. A lot of people think they're being abused. Do you agree?
I do agree, because if it was about skilled labor, where are all the Europeans? If you're looking for like engineers, hello, what is the greatest engineering nation the world has ever seen? How about bringing some German engineers? You want like your Facebook needs some new engineers or coders or whatever? Hello, where are all the Germans? Why are they just hiring Indians? And then they say, oh, because they're cheap or whatever. Well, the Germans are pretty cheap. Have you seen the average salary in Germans? Like, it's clearly just a scam. It doesn't make sense. If it was about the best skilled people in the world, then they would be bringing all the Europeans over. And they're not. They're just bringing these third world, that they can pay pennies. And that is, the basis of it, really.
You have a lot of countries in Latin America that they have very, very, very smart people. Brilliant engineers, brilliant scientists. Why not bring them here? I mean, sure, their countries have their own problems, but go and look at a country like Colombia with the outside of like the cities. You get out into the outskirts, it's rough, but there are a lot of really brilliant people. So why are we going to fucking Somalia and Haiti and Libya and countries that 20 years ago we wanted to bomb off the face of the earth?
Yeah.
Why are we importing people that have openly for decades said they hate America? Why? What is the point?
Well, these companies just trying to cut their costs, and they would stupidly believed that all these Indians that have waving this bit of paper that says they went to the University of God knows where, that they're equally as good as the Americans that have studied. Yeah, sorry, you've got to pay more for them, but they're better. I mean, have you noticed social media today, like websites today? Everything sucks. Everything's broken. Even like a big platform like Instagram, like so many things on Instagram just don't work anymore. It's broken. And it is because these people are coming in and just thinking that they can fix the code and tinker with this and tinker with that. These platforms were built by great Americans. These are great American companies, and they were built by like students, like hardworking Americans. And then they brought, and then the company had a CEO and decided that they needed to like cut some costs, and now they fired all the Americans and brought in all these Indians, and now nothing works. Every website sucks. Every website you've got to accept the cookies and sign up for the email and do it like before you even see the page. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, I often wonder do the CEOs of these companies even use their products? I mean, probably not. They probably never even look. No. You think the CEO of Google actually uses Google? Probably not. He probably just asks his assistant to do it. But if he could see what a state it was in, you'd realize, although he's Indian himself, so he's not going to probably care. But
the CEO of Google probably uses Microsoft.
Well, yeah, well, that's even worse. Nothing bloody works. It's ridiculous.
No, it is. I mean, and now a lot of people are kind of cracking down. The view on the mass deportations kind of shifted, and it really showed the people that were completely spineless. When shit started getting rough, they tucked tail and ran. And this isn't what I voted for. I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for a dad to get arrested on his way to school. Bitch, yes, you did.
Well, I mean, as someone that's he's an illegal, he's a criminal.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? I literally have no time for the people that are saying that. You guys are lucky. At least you call them illegals. In England, they don't call them. They call them like refugees or asylum. No, excuse me. They say asylum seekers. They're asylum seekers. Like they're nice people. At least you guys call them illegals. He's a criminal. The guy climbed the fence, swam the river, broke into this country. He broke the law. Sorry, it sucks to suck. You're out of here. I don't understand this. Right. Scaling back the ICE raids because the women got upset. It's just ridiculous.
No, and I mean, I think there's a middle ground. I mean, we're not going to people that have been here for, 10 or 15 years and forgot to renew their paperwork. Like, they're going after people that are here illegally that have criminal records. I don't care if someone's been here 10 or 15 years illegally and has paid taxes and whatever. Like, I don't care if they were a murderer in fucking Mexico or Venezuela. I don't want to take that chance. I don't want him living up the street from me and my, and my family. Fuck you. So a lot of these people, they really showed how spineless they were. I mean, what can you say to somebody like that? I mean, really, if you had an opportunity to change their mind, if you thought there was a glimmer of hope that they weren't completely retarded.
Well, I think people have just like given up on living in the real world. Like, do you realize how like insane and tough the world actually is? Like, oh, I'm sorry that you got upset that you saw a video of a guy getting dragged out. Like, it's this like shock. Like, people are so afraid of being shocked. They're like, oh my God, like I can't believe they would do that. Like, people are getting beheaded in Mexico like right now. Like, do you understand what the world is really like? You're upset that you saw a video on your Facebook as you sit on your sofa eating your Doritos. Like, do you realize what the world is really like? They have no idea what the world is really like. So I would just be like, well, I would just, this is what annoys me the most. It's the politicians, is that they don't have the backbone to go out to the people and say, yeah, that video was awful, but guess what? There's gonna be more. It's just the beginning. But I do think I know a lot of the young guys in the admin, and they all have the same opinion as me. It is these older boomers that are like, oh, but no, like Fox News said that it was mean, and they played the video on the headlines over and over again. Like, we've got to stop doing that. It's not working with the voters. Like, who cares? Just go hard, be aggressive, do what you've got to do. The people will respect you if you do what you've got to do. But they're too spineless. They're like, oh my God, Fox News said it was mean, so we've got to stop. I think you'll see that changing as more of the younger generation take over the positions of power.
I think the ones that are going for media, especially, they tend to be the more left-wing liberal. Like, they're not the folks that you want running the media. You want logical, calculated people that are going to do the job, and that's to keep the American people informed. We need to get rid of pundits and bring back journalists. And I think there is a really, really big light at the end of the tunnel on that, and that is people like Nick Shirley, people like Cam Higbee, even I cannot remember the other one's name. I can see it in my head. I can see his teeth, unfortunately. It's damn it, I can't think of his name. But there are a lot of really young Gen Z journalists that aren't going into media that have said, fuck that, I'm gonna go do my own thing on YouTube and Rumble. And so how do you shift Gen Z? Because obviously neither one of us are very far ahead, right? We've kind of seen both sides. How do you think we get Gen Z to shift away from like listening to the mainstream media and getting them to actually consume journalism? How do you do that in terms of distribution when you don't have massive networks backing you?
Well, I mean, no one young is watching Fox, or they don't even have access to Fox anymore. Like, you literally you can't even get the app on your phone if you don't have like a Xfinity subscription. Like, some of them find they're on their parents' one, but like Fox and CNN and MSNBC, they have not done what needs to do to make themselves accessible to the young people. They went after the money. They're like, oh, you've got to pay us $9.99 a month to watch our channel. And it's like, wait, do you not want the young people to see this? Because what are they doing instead? They're watching Twitter X and watching like Nick Shirley's stuff. Like, so I think those, I shouldn't talk too badly of Fox, as I love doing Fox, but, I love talking to the older people as well. But there's not, I never get many young people who have seen me on Fox. It's not a big young viewership.
Right.
What will work is that they'll post clips of you on their socials, and that's where the young people will see it. But yeah, I think a lot of these young guys like Nick Shirley, it's so interesting if he did it like traditional way, like, how would he, I mean, first of all, he would never get on Fox. He has no credentials. He has no, if you look at Fox, you rarely see a young person on there unless they've got some sort of backing or some sort of history. I'm actually one of the youngest people that does Fox regularly. And that mine's just because I'm British. Like that's literally my difference. If I was American, I wouldn't be on it at all.
Actually, on that, the one thing I have noticed is the mainstream television, they don't tend to have young people on Fox. But when you go to like the free channels, the ones that are on like Pluto TV and the Roku, like Live Now from Fox, they do tend to have younger hosts on there. And those guys seem to handle it better than the majority of the mainstream guys.
That's the new generation. You'll keep an eye on those guys. You'll see them in the future. That's the, but yeah, like how like I was thinking of this the other day, like how would Nick Shirley 5 years ago, how would he have got any credentials at all? Like it's almost impossible. It's only possible today because he's getting like funding from the X is doing this creator sharing and all that. He's getting paid from doing it, but like his content is so interesting. What he would have gone on Fox and said, I think there's a scandal in Somalia or wherever, no, Minnesota, but yeah, by Somalis, basically the same. And I want to go and investigate, and can you fund it? Like it literally wouldn't happen. So it's really interesting. His stuff in particular, I'm really interested in. That seems to be like sort of future of journalism.
Absolutely. Ryan, I have to use the restroom. Take this for a few minutes.
So, if you don't mind me asking, since we can edit all this out, how old are you?
34.
Okay, so you're right around my age then.
Yeah, Ryan's still the geriatric in the room.
I am. I'm 36. I'm 36. I lived a lot of rebellious life when I was young, and now I'm domesticated, and I have my own house and 2 little girls and a fiance. So,
oh, I love that. Congratulations.
Hence the
that's
late
the
night
dream.
filming.
Yeah, hence the late night. Yeah, well, actually, tonight late night was the band I'm playing with now had a rehearsal earlier this evening, but I have a general rule that we don't do any podcasting until after my kids go to bed.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's in case he has like a fit of rage, is what it is.
Yeah, I don't want my 2-year-old to hear me say cunt. Actually, that's a lie. I say cunt around my 2-year-old.
Well, Ryan, I think
she's going to learn. She's
this
going to learn
show
what I
might be
learned.
the cleanest one we've ever done.
Which is crazy because I have some British friends and they say cunt a lot.
I'm too media trained.
That's fair. Well, and that's exactly what I was going to say is I'm going to teach my daughter the same thing I had to learn, which is I don't give a shit if you cuss, but read the room. Just read the room.
Yeah. Dude, that media training, it's tough, man. It's tough. Because I have this problem where I have a very hard time controlling my facial expressions. So even if I can keep my mouth shut, it tells you everything you need to know. I am very much Speaker Johnson at Biden's last State of the Union, where he was rolling his eyes the entire time. Okay, so I mean, I guess we can jump into just some like fun personal stuff. You're a green card holder. Do you eventually want dual citizenship, or at this point, do you think you're just going to become American and tell the Brits to go get fucked?
No, I'll probably keep both just because it's easier for Europe and stuff. Although it used to be, it's not so much anymore. But yeah, no, I definitely want to become American citizen. Although the test is like hard. I'm like, I don't like all my friends are like, yeah, you're on your own. Like I couldn't even pass that. So I'm like,
legitimately, okay. I think the average American who was born here couldn't pass that test without some serious
which is
studying.
like good. Like I respect that for like keeping out the people. Like, you know, I can learn it and figure it out. It's not that complicated. But like, you know, I'm glad that it is tough. But yeah, like I'm like, okay, I need to like get a tutor because none of my friends know any of these answers.
A couple weeks ago, I was in a conversation with somebody and in person, and some ad came on a TV or a phone or something, and it was an ad for like a trivia game, and they were asking historical questions. And one of the questions was, what was the generally accepted instigating event of World War II? And so I paused it and I said, answer this. What was the instigating event of World War II? And they looked at me and they were like, the Boston Tea Party. I was like,
who did you ask this to?
I don't want to say. I was like, your vote counts for as much as mine.
I don't need to know a name. I just need to know an age and a gender.
It was a woman and like 28.
Yeah, but that question is like kind of objective. Like,
It
I
is.
mean, was it World War II or World War One?
It was World War II. I think it was World War II. Because the answer that they had in it was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand.
Okay, so that's one. Right.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
that
Yes.
one
Yes.
is
You're
like,
right. Correct one.
but on two, I was like, okay, I guess you'd say the invasion of Poland, or would you say the expansion into Austria, the Anschluss? Like,
I
that
would have
or-
said the invasion into Poland. Probably that would have been
right,
probably
yeah,
where I
because
would.
that was when the Brits declared war, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's an
Well,
interesting.
but on
one.
the American side, World War II, it would have been Pearl Harbor.
yeah,
So that
which he
that
was
is
like,
kind
why
of a
didn't you
trick
tell us
question.
about that?
Oh, that I lost my
Why did you-
shit. That is the best. That is the best no holds barred clip I've seen in a little while. Where it
And
was
she's
like,
so sweet, the prime minister. She's like, oh,
yeah.
but apparently, did you hear it went down very well in Japan? It actually played really well in
No shit.
the local media, which I was surprised. I thought they would be offended, but no, apparently it worked well.
Yeah, I mean,
Damn, it didn't take long to break all that media training. I love it.
yeah, no, it was a well, I don't think it was a planned retort, but it was a good quick wit.
Yes. Well, but that's Donald Trump though. That's like, for me, the moment that sticks with me in my head and is still my favorite thing in American political history was, it's a good thing a man with the temperament like Donald Trump isn't in charge of the laws in this country. Yeah, because you'd be in jail. Like,
Oh, that was funny.
that was the moment that is it's my absolute favorite in American political history, because it's so fucking quick. Like,
Yeah.
that's who
But
Trump
remember
is.
what hope we had there? It makes me sad now because I just think of like how hopeful and excited everyone was, and now like how everything sucks. It's kind of like it's not that good, but that's okay.
Well, and that's something we could riff on for a little bit, because obviously, I was very involved in the election season, just in one way or another, whether it was podcasting or it was out with Scott Pressler and that group, where it was just doing voter outreach from home, sending texts, making phone calls. Like, I was really involved because I believed in the message. The platform for the first time in my life, whether I could vote or not, I actually had a candidate and a mission that I believed in. And when people like RFK Jr. came into the fold, I got really excited. And I wasn't even backing Trump in the primary at that point. I had backed Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh.
But it's the libertarian thing.
We'll forgive you for that. That's okay. Everyone makes
it's my libertarian. Yeah, it's my libertarian streak. But when everything finally came together, this was huge for me. Like, I was so happy to be able to be a part of it. And now we're a year in, and I've seen 2 massive campaign promises take a blow. That is releasing the Epstein files. The handling of the Epstein files will go down as the greatest political suicide attempt in American history. The second one is the war in Iran. The peace president, the guy that is the only U.S. president that can say we did not get involved in any new wars, just decided to, in what I believe is at Israel's behest, has now plunged us into something that we don't necessarily see the finish line. And we can't count on the administration to give us a solid answer. Like, oh, well, yeah, we're ending it. They're completely obliterated. They're destroyed. And then it's like, oh, the mining of the Strait of Hormuz happened, which, Ryan and I just did a show with Mike Termott, and I think we all agreed that I don't think the White House was diplomatically prepared for that. I don't think they expected it to happen. And so now we've kind of had to backpedal and pivot. And this is a situation that we shouldn't have been in the first place. And so what is your take on it? I mean, why would someone that came in running on an anti-war stance fall for the 40-year-old line of Iran is weeks away from having a nuclear weapon?
Well, I think a lot of it came down to the people around him. I think we cannot overstate how much of a loss Charlie Kirk was, not only just to the movement itself, but to giving the president information from the young generation. I mean, he was kind of the spokesman of the young people in the White House. I mean, we know that now, that he was a staunch advocate against the war in Iran. I think he was the one in the White House that was pushing back against it. I think when he was no longer around, the president was not getting the correct or the full picture of what the situation. When you said that the White House didn't expect them to close the strait, I think there were very smart people in the Pentagon and in the some of the White House that knew exactly what was going to happen, but they weren't getting their message delivered to the president because there were certain people around him that wanted this to happen. So I think that seems to be the only reason why this has happened.
Well, and to that, I think that Pete Hegseth is slacking there a little bit, because he should be looped in on every single discussion, every single thing. And that if you should count on anybody to directly have the president's ear, guaranteed, not a problem. Like, we'll drop what he's doing and answer the phone. It's sec war. It's and just for a minute, can I just say I fucking hate the name change? Like, I really do.
It feels ostentatious.
I don't like the Department of War. I think it's I think it's a stupid name. I think it's a vanity name to say that, hey, we're strong, and now we're backing it up and obviously proving that we're still...
I don't think it hasn't been legally changed, so it'll probably just go back like the next time.
Dude, I hope so, because I am so tired of saying Secretary of War when SecDef just rolled off the tongue so nicely.
Hey, but Hail Hydra.
Yeah. Dude, I looked at that tweet today, and that was even funnier. Ryan quote tweeted a picture of Pete Hegseth and was like, he looks like he's about to announce that he's been working for Hydra all along. Like, I don't know if you're familiar
with the Marvel comic book universe.
Which one is Hydra?
Hydra was the one, they were like essentially the Nazi-backed regime during World War II.
It was
no,
they were the ones Captain America was fighting
movies.
Against. Yeah,
I haven't gone that deep into the comic stuff, but
yeah, no, they and then G.I. Joe as well. So,
well, yeah, he
Captain
kind of
America,
is like that. But I also think if you look at him, I mean, I can tell you how the phone call or the meeting would have gone. The president would have said, "Pete, can we do it?" And like, yeah, of course you can do it. Like, yeah, we can do it. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be quick? No. And I don't think they necessarily gave him those answers. He probably, what the president's like. He probably is like, "Can we do it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we can do it." He's like, "Great, do it." Like, and that's literally how the war begun, probably. They present him the options, but in there was like, he was saying, "Oh, we were so surprised that they went and hit Dubai and Qatar and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia." And it's like, no, anyone knows that was a great strategy. Like, if I was on the Iranian side, that's exactly what I would do, because Israel can take hit after hit after hit. They're built for it. They've got the bunkers. They're prepared. The Middle East is basically destroyed. No one is going to Dubai. Emirates Airline destroyed. Qatar Airways destroyed. They've done a really smart move, because now all of those Arab states are putting pressure on the president to wrap this up. The president's golf course in Dubai is now losing all its membership and going to have to close. Mm-hmm. That is how you get to the president, not by, just hammering Israel all day long. They're not going to tell him anything. So I think this strategy, everyone knew this is what they was going to do. The British knew that's what they were going to do. It was the best strategy they had available to them. Just send everything you can, these cheap little drones, and bomb Dubai and upset all the, expats that live there. And upset the Sheikh, and all of a sudden he'll be calling the president saying, "You got to wrap this up." And that's exactly what's happened. You see now he's trying to do a peace deal and reach out, and they say they don't want to talk to Kushner, they'll only talk to JD, and it's all crazy.
Well, it's you make such a good point too, because this Piers Morgan made a point on his show, which, by the way, I would love to see you on. But Piers made a point in the show that he doesn't believe the government of Iran is in charge. He believes that he thinks as of this moment, because we haven't seen hide nor hair of the new gay Ayatollah, allegedly gay Ayatollah.
Allegedly, you think he's going to sue you?
I'm just saying allegedly. I mean, we haven't seen him, and if he's dead, we'll never get to ask
there's
him.
probably a reason we haven't seen him.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So do you think that lends credence to his theory that it is not the Iranian government that's running the show right now? It is the Guard Corps. It's the IRGC that are making the decisions and running the show, because it seems like the maneuvers that they're making, number one, are not only just the most logical, but every single other country that they're slinging missiles into is turning on them.
Yeah. They've done, killing the Ayatollah was probably a pretty big disaster, because what has happened now is they've basically declared total war. It's like every man for himself, every commander for himself. Do whatever you can do. Just defend this nation in the name of their prophet Allah or whatever they believe. So it's now a decentralized military. You basically have like different states with their different hierarchies. Like, yeah, maybe the commanders are talking to each other, but they're kind of just, it's almost like going back to like World War II, where you had like the tank divisions were just doing whatever they thought they could do to get through the trenches or whatever, like, and then report back when you have successes. Just try everything, as opposed to the American way of very centralized command and control. The top guy is saying, this is the strategy, we're doing this, move these here, move that there. It's just a free-for-all now. Whatever they've got in their bunkers, they're launching every day. They've worked out, we've got 1,000 of these, we get 500 new ones every month. Let's just send out 50 a day. There is no, I think even if you negotiated a peace deal right now, you're going to have people still fighting. You're going to have units still going on the attack to avenge their Ayatollah. It is a disaster now. And I don't see how this wraps up like anytime soon.
On the flip side of that, though, if we are going to go down this path, I think that there would be some massive gain to be made where the U.S. goes in, and obviously they allow joint operations between the Qatari government, the UAE. They start bringing these people together to fight this obviously dying regime. There could be room for expansion into NATO, and actually build stronger alliances with these nations in the Middle East.
You will never defeat Iran. This will only end in a massive embarrassment. There is no way. Look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. What could you do differently in Iran that you didn't try in Iraq and Afghanistan? Both those countries are hellholes today. Neither of them are sustainable democracies or whatever you're trying to spread. I think this is going to be like a Vietnam. It's going to be like a complete disaster, because they're fighting like a traditional war against like a non-traditional enemy. It's not going to work. The only way that's going to change is, I think, the admin will try and spin it out and say that it's a success and we did this and we won or whatever. But the Arab state, the Gulf states are putting massive pressure on the president now, and they'll have to pull back. And Israel is not going to be happy. They haven't achieved their goals. But I mean, I don't see how you could ever have. How are the Iranian people? I know they keep showing us these videos of people like cheering or whatever. How are they ever like these? You forget these are like brainwashed Muslims. Like they literally believe in this insane religion. They're never. It's the same in Iraq and Afghanistan. They're never going to come around to the Western way of thinking. So why are we trying to bother? The best case scenario for Israel is that you create a massively destabilized state in the same way that Iraq and Afghanistan is today, which is probably their objective. And they're probably going to achieve their objective with this. As I said, it's now a decentralized country that doesn't really have much of a power structure, but they're still going to keep attacking everyone. So I don't see a way out of this, really.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, because I think there is a chance to really change the Middle East as long as the Iranian people rise up and take their country back. That is the only way that we see, and that's without the U.S. deciding who's going to govern it. That's the Iranian people overthrow the current government, have an election.
But
Boom.
they're fanatical Muslims. It'll be the same as Afghanistan. They'll elect the Taliban. Like they're fanatical Muslims.
You end up.
No, I think the people of Iran are pretty clear on who they want to lead them. They want to go back to the Shah. They want to go back to Reza Pahlavi.
No, but you're believing the American propaganda. Yeah, you've heard a lot of people on television saying that. Walk in the streets of rural Iran and ask them who. Like, they're hardcore Muslims. They like the Ayatollah in his stupid hat. Like, that's what they want. They're not people still think that, like, the Persia of the 70s we can go back to. They're not the same people anymore. No one's going back to that. So I don't know. I mean, I would love if that happened. I would love to be proven wrong. But I really don't see that's going to happen.
What if you get the right percentage? I mean, do you think it's in the realm of possibility, or do you think it's just like you're fighting a pointless battle?
The way that the Muslim people are successful is if they if they have a sort of system like Saudi Arabia, but that's sort of the prime example of a successful Arab state. But they're massively wealthy with the oil that they sell to foreign nations, and then build nice shiny things for the people. But I don't think that you're going to see a rural country like Iran. Tehran is not exactly going to be the hot destination like the new Dubai. So other than that, I don't really know how it becomes a developed nation. There's not really I don't really see a way forward for that.
Jeez, it's bleak. I'm trying to be the positive one here.
Sorry, I know. It'll be great. Don't worry, it'll be great.
I'm with Thomas on this one.
Yeah,
I want to be optimistic, but it almost seems like destabilization and general destruction of their military is the goal. And then if that's the case, how long does it take them to build that back up? And how hard is it for Israel to yeet a couple missiles over there every year or so and just make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, that seems to be the long-term strategy.
I hope so, because I definitely do not want American boots on the ground. Although I did see earlier on
they're going to land like this week. There's literally about to be boots on the ground.
Yeah, the 82nd Airborne was deployed.
I'm also hearing that like 30 other, or like how many other NATO allies just sent, they're sending forces to the region. Are they?
Because last I saw they didn't pick up the phone when we called.
No, the Brits are sending some over to. They want it to be like a joint force to open the strait, but I don't if America doesn't have the appetite for this war, trust me, Europe does not either. So I don't really see how that's going to work either. But
I'm generally concerned, speaking of the strait, with the speed with which Iran mined the strait out, because that shows like honest preparation on Iran's part. Because the amount of mines, the amount of space, I mean, the Strait of Hormuz is like, I think on average 22 or so miles wide. I do believe only like 2 to 4 miles in the middle of it is traversable. So maybe they just mined the middle because they were aiming for the super tankers. But to mine a body of water like that shows that they already had resources in place and were prepared to do it.
Yeah. And they don't even need to do it. They just need to tell you that they've done it. Like,
True.
True. The fact that they've gone out and said, we've mined the whole place. Like after you, like who wants to go first through? So, that also is their tactic. But also we're forgetting that the Houthis haven't closed the Red Sea yet. Like that's the next step. And then all of a sudden the Suez Canal is closed. we could see some massive effects from this war.
Oh, especially logistically. I mean, the amount of stuff that gets imported from China, I mean,
Yeah,
you would see prices go exponentially higher,
yeah,
just
all the
because of
Amazons now.
yeah. Spend all your money on Amazon now because shit's about to get expensive.
God,
Um,
if RAM gets any higher, I'm never gonna afford a new computer in my life.
yeah, the price of RAM is ridiculous. But there are a lot of potentially catastrophic consequences for this. And part of me wonders if that wasn't just a political play on Iran's part, because they were able to goad Israel into this conflict, and then Israel and their immense control inside our government via AIPAC and, the Miriam Adelsons of the world. The tail was able to wag the dog into this war, and now who knows how long it's going to go, and people are going to suffer. Prepare for food shortages. Like, start getting buddy with your local fucking farmer or your local butcher. Like, start getting friendly with them, because you're going to need them. Like, there are definitely, I'm going to say this, I don't want to say I'm going to say it facetiously, but I'm going to sensationalize this a little bit. If you haven't already started being a prepper, doomsday prepper, good time to start, at least. Because it could really decimate the all of global shipping.
Look at just what COVID did, or threat of during COVID. I vividly, this is a core memory, which, how sad is this? This is a core memory now. I remember not being allowed to go to the pizza shop, but I could order pizza to be delivered to my porch as long as I didn't answer the door. So they just had to drop the pizza on the porch. And when I would order pizza, because I didn't have a ton of groceries, because I wasn't prepared for the world to shut down, I would tip the delivery driver an asinine amount of money and ask him to add a bunch of napkins or paper towels, because toilet paper was gone. It just didn't exist. And
what an odd thing to hoard, too. Like, toilet paper! Like, bro, if it gets to that point, that shit's gonna run out eventually.
Right, but
might as well get your ideas now.
The general American population has never had to want for anything. So I think if that time does come, that there's going to be very, very big problems.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys would handle like a World War II style like rationing like England had. Like,
sure,
it's interesting that English older people are like such different creatures, even like my grandmother, because they grew up in this like rationed, like, the rations in the UK lasted like long into the 50s. Like, after the war was long over, they were still doing rations because it was like building the country back. I literally cannot imagine like 7-year-old Americans having to deal with rations. These boomers that have just like wanted to have everything they've ever wanted, Costco at the end of their road every year. I don't know how that would happen.
Unfortunately, if it gets to that point and there's massive effects from the war, yeah, we should probably start prepping now. Like, if for no other reason, like, get buddy with your local hunters. That's going to be your best bet, because trust me, the Walmart shelves are going to be bare. But if you find a store that buys local or sources local, that's who I would go to. But we blazed through the topic so quickly that
we're efficient.
We could have been done at an hour. So your media training helped a ton, because I'm not going to have to edit much. But
just bathroom breaks.
Yeah, just bathroom breaks. No, that said, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. Love to have you back if we do another panel show, especially. You have an open invitation anytime. This is the place where you can come and say whatever you want, how you really feel, and you can throw the media training out the door.
Yeah,
Like,
until it gets clipped and then shared everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the danger. Well, that's why I don't even podcast under my real name.
That's smart. I wish I didn't do that.
Well,
yeah, I do.
I work in real estate and in a small town that is very, very typically very right wing. And I am right wing to a degree, but I also like have an independent thought in my head. So sometimes I say things that make people angry, and I don't want to lose house sales because of
that's smart. Play the safe game. I'm in a very, very Republican area here. But of course, like when I moved here, like the neighbors and everyone thought, oh my God, here's this like lib Englishman from DC, like moved to the country, wants to like cosplay in like the farmland. So the first thing I did was put up all these Trump like posters everywhere and spoons of Trump flag. And now they're like my best friend.
Well, that was
like,
how
I love it.
how Bobby and I got into discussing politics when we were younger is we grew up in a very, very small rural right-wing town, and there was but it was a vacation town. So you'd have a lot of people from the bigger cities come in and spend the summers there. And we'd sit in the local dive bar, the old bar you could still smoke in. And they always assumed that because Bobby was gay, that he was a raging Democrat. And they would always expect him to back them up on...
You're talking about Matt.
Yeah. But they'd always expect, they'd be like, well, you're gay, so you agree with me on this left-wing topic. And then even at like 20, when he was like 21, he would just eviscerate some guy in barroom politics, which barroom politics are still my favorite politics. But
oh yeah, that's good fun.
Yeah, Ryan, we need to make that a shirt too. Debate your local barroom with our logo like on the shoulder.
I'd wear that all day,
dude. I'd rock it all day long in an American flag. Other shoulder. Let's go.
I got thrown. I didn't get thrown out. I got told I couldn't have my during the last presidential election.
I'll get you one, Thomas.
During the last presidential election, I tried to watch the debate at a local bar, and I made it to about 30 minutes in, and everybody around me couldn't have a civil conversation because no one knows how to do that anymore. And the owner of the bar said, "You're going to have to watch this somewhere else."
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that can... men are generally pretty decent, but you get a woman in the bar and she starts screaming. Liberals don't know how to control their emotions and have a logical argument. Some Republicans don't either, but that's why I try to surround myself with generally informed people. Not necessarily always well informed, but at least have the right idea. Because
I try and surround myself with people who can inform me if I don't know. And then I can ask them an honest question, and they don't call me a retard for not knowing.
Dude, it was so funny. I am so glad that Mike Termott made that comment, the controversy, which one's the smart one and which one's the good-looking one. And you're like, I'm generally the uninformed one. And he goes, Robert, did you hear that? He just called you ugly.
Yeah, I was practicing for my political career.
But then the funniest part was I led the entire show. I even apologized to you mid-show, I think.
You did. No,
it was like I dominated the whole conversation. Like,
no, you guys were having great conversations.
I'm the informed guy.
Well, that's just like tonight. I am very, very uninformed in Britain's politics. I'm aware of the Islamic migration that's happened there. I'm uninformed of the reasoning or the any of the legal behind it. My assumption is that the reasoning behind it is probably similar to what I feel like some of ours is, and that's that the bleeding hearts just want to let everybody in, and I think that there's a lot of virtue signaling and like social justice kind of bullshit that goes along with it. Because I legitimately think that's how you get the younger generation on board with things anymore, even though I disagree with it because I think it defies logic.
Yeah. No, I understand. Like, I only know about it because I am English. Like, I'm actually quite uninformed about England now because it's just ridiculous. It's like, I don't even pay attention to their news because nothing matters. It feels like, DC is like, you guys are doing like world changing things, and England is like arguing over like gas and ridiculous things like that. But like, I just did a podcast with this guy, and he was Canadian, like, great guy, but I didn't realize he was Canadian. And I'm like, oh, I don't actually know that much about Canadian politics. So I'm like, it's probably the same as you. Like, why would I know that much about Canadian politics? It seems like not that important in the wider picture. But it's kind of the same in England. Like, who cares? England's not that big of a deal. But I do have obviously a love of the homeland. So I hope that it survives. We'll see.
Thomas, tell everybody in the audience where they can find you, where they can follow you, if they like what they're hearing.
Yeah, just mostly Twitter or X. I always forget to say X. It's just at Corbett Dillon. But yeah, that's pretty much where I am.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, especially talking on both the British side and the American side. Consider yourself an open invitation. Anytime you'd like to come on, we're more than happy to have you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Sounds great.